Over-explaining is often a boundary trying to apologize for existing. You say no, but then you keep talking. Adding reason after reason, you add a softener, then an apology, then an alternative you do not want. By the end, the sentence is so padded that the boundary is hard to find. This is not just a communication habit. It is a fear pattern. Many people learned that a limit is only acceptable if it comes with evidence. They do not simply say, "I cannot come." They must prove they are not selfish. They show the cord of the relationship they are still kind and still loyal. That is how access and care get confused. Care means the relationship matters. Access is how much labor you draw from me. If you never separate those two, every limit feels like emotional abandonment. So you over-explain, and the trouble is that over-explaining invites negotiation. Every extra reason becomes a handle that someone can grab. Now the conversation has moved from your limit into a debate about your reasons. A cleaner boundary does not need to be harsh. It needs to be clear. I cannot do tonight. Or I care about this and I can talk tomorrow. I cannot take the task, but I can help you think through the first step. That is enough information for a healthy relationship to work with. Resentment is the receipt for boundaries you did not set early enough. Every hidden yes becomes a small charge against your own peace of mind. Eventually, the relationship receives a bill it did not know it was creating. The goal is not to be cold. It is to stop making your limits a mystery. Stop blaming other people for failing to read your hidden, unspoken mind. A boundary is not proof that you care less about the other person. It is proof that the relationship is finally getting accurate information. A good boundary also has timing. Otherwise, the resentment becomes too full. The sentence comes out sharper than the limit itself requires. The other person reacts to the heat instead of the actual information. This is why early boundaries are kinder than late explosions. Early sounds like, "I cannot do that this week." Late sounds like an accusation. Early gives the relationship a chance to adjust. Late hands them an invoice. The fear is that the other person will be disappointed. But they might be. Disappointment is not automatically damage. It is part of being human. In many relationships, surviving small disappointments is what makes things real. If someone stays warm only when you have no limits, that is not closeness. That is simply access without any accountability. You do not need to explain your limit until it becomes impossible to question. You need to state it clearly enough that the other person knows how to meet reality. That is the hidden generosity of a boundary. It gives the relationship accurate information before resentment starts editing the story. A helpful test is whether your explanation is meant to inform or to earn permission. Informing is clean, like saying, "I cannot come because I need to rest." Earning permission keeps adding evidence until the other person agrees you are allowed to have the limit. That second version puts the other person in charge of your boundary. The boundary is yours, and the other person can have feelings about it, but their feelings are not the approval stamp that makes it real. A useful exercise is to cut your boundary sentence in half, then cut it again. What remains is often the real limit. Instead of rambling, you just say, "I cannot make it this week." The shorter sentence may feel less kind, but it is often more respectful. It does not bury the other person in emotional paperwork. It gives them the truth early enough to adjust. If the relationship is healthy, the shorter sentence may disappoint them, but it will not destroy the bond. If you have to manage them into accepting reality, that is information too. Over-explaining makes you feel safer in the moment, but it trains the relationship to expect your full legal defense every time you have a need. That is just exhausting. A boundary should be a door, not a courtroom. The shorter sentence may feel rude at first, because your nervous system is used to paying an explanation. But clarity is not cruelty. A clean no gives the other person something honest to respond to, instead of a pile of evidence they can debate. The goal is not to sound powerful. It is to stop turning every limit into a public trial.